If you guys saw our last video on the twin turbo 348 challenge, you'll remember that after seeing some pretty substantial wear on the old GT Comp turbos, we made the decision to get some new Garrett G series turbos for this car. And today we got the new turbos for this car. We're gonna go ahead and unbox them and start the process of fabricating them to the exhaust system of the 348. Let's get right to it.
Kind of excited when the owner of the car said that they were on board with going ahead and using G series turbos. What we did is we ordered a pair of G25 660s, and we're going to be using a .92 AR. I'm going to go ahead and open these up and we're going to have a look at them. All right, so this is our set of B-band clamps, and this is our housing. And like I said, this should be a .92 AR. And I really like these housings. They're stainless steel, and they tend to, yeah, so you can see .92 AR, and all V-band. And this car actually was a difficult car to work on because of all of the studs and all of the, hardware that was used to hold the old turbos together. It was actually kind of tricky because the packaging of this engine, we put the turbos basically up on the tops of the cylinder heads and just to the outsides of the cylinder heads. So there's very little room to work to get the hardware of the turbo on and off. And so I'm actually kind of looking forward to just having the V-band set up because it's going to be a lot easier for us to deal with. Okay, so that's our housing. Let's go ahead and have a look. Okay, here's our turbo. Go ahead and untie this bag. There it is. Now these pretty much all come like this where they're disassembled. Size-wise, this turbo is actually quite a bit more compact. It's actually going to end up being shorter. You can see the length of that cartridge is easily 3/4 of an inch shorter. And so overall, once that turbo is installed in the car, it's probably going to be about 1 inch to 1.5 inches shorter in length than the original turbo. And you can see here the size of the turbine. This turbine is a lot smaller. And then compared to the size of the compressor is also smaller. But having used this turbo and this turbo extensively on the dyno, I can tell you 100% that this turbo will outflow that turbo by a good margin. And so I actually think that this car is going to be considerably faster and a lot more responsive with these turbos than it was with these.
Now that we sized up the new turbo, we realized that if we replace this V-band flange with this 4-bolt flange, the old turbo flange, in the same exact manner, I'm talking down to T, like same angle, same placement, same height, that it would work perfect. So what I'm gonna do is cut a departing line right here, right after the flange, just cut them really clean, clean up the surface, and we're gonna machine the inside of this V-van flange just a little bit so you can recess in to get the good surface area for welds to go in, and that's how we're gonna attack this problem.
So the other header is done now. You guys can see that is all welded up. That is going to be it for today. Tomorrow we're going to go ahead and reassemble this onto the car side and start planning out the other thing that we have to modify, which is the downpipe. So of course, coming off of this flange here, is going to be bigger, well, not that. So with the Garrett turbo, of course, this outlet here for the exhaust is 3-inch, which is bigger than what came out of the old comp turbos. So we are going to need a new downpipe section that goes to the current muffler setup on this car.
The following day.
Today we're going to be installing the headers back on. Martin spent some time reinstalling the Inconel covers for the headers and redoing the safety wire for them as well. And now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and clean up the engine block. You can see it's a little bit dirty. And then once we've done that, we'll reinstall the headers and test our new turbos. You guys will see now that Martin has got the exhaust back on. And what's happening now is that, of course, like we said, this turbo is a 3-inch outlet here, and this is only 2.5. So Martin is going to be remaking this entire downpipe down to these V-band clamps down here, all in 3-inch.
We have a small issue here. These are the tips, and they're somewhat hard mounted to the transmission. Steve had put a little suspension plate right here, which is very nice. This system works great, but the problem is, for me to make this tube, I need to make sure these tips don't move around. So when we go back, in the car, the tips stay in the center of the exhaust cutouts. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a temporary mount to really hold these pieces together. The reason why we put these downpipes together, because that kind of locates these tips by connecting the wastegate tubes and all that. So obviously we have to redo this section. I'm gonna make temporary mounts right here.
Martin has finished his downpipes. You can see that he redid. And the next step, of course, is to have them wrapped the same way that the headers were wrapped, in the same way the downpipes used to be wrapped. But before we can take these back off and go and do that, we do want to test the fit in the car, make sure the turbos, everything fits, as well as the exhaust tips is a really important thing. We want those to be centered in the bumper where they're supposed to be. And if anything is wrong, Martin wants to be able to fix it before we have the exhaust wraps done. Not even close.
So you can see here, our flange is now in contact and it's in the channel. So there's an actual channel here, and you can see here, our turbo is like basically pretty much about where it was before. I think we're gonna be fine on space. I'm a little concerned about the way this, but we don't have too much further to go down, so I think we're probably gonna be okay. Bolt bosses are just about to slide over, and we have to contend with the upper shock mounts now. Up. That's enough, no more. A little more. Sorry, just a touch more. Okay, down.
Down.
Down. Just a little bit more. Let's move this out.
So there we go, we got the engine test fit in there. The turbos, like we said, were close, but seem to be clear and in the good, so we're rocking there. Now the most important next part is to put the bumper on and test, like I said, the exhaust tips and make sure those fit properly in the bumper. And then we're gonna go ahead and take it all back out.
The most important thing you understand is that this gap has to basically almost be touching the bumper. Now I can loosen and turn the mufflers back and forth a little bit side to side. It's not gonna move a lot, but it'll move enough that you can see here that this actually touches the bumper. As soon as this car warms up, the actual stainless steel muffler that connects these two grows enough that the tips actually go into the middle of the...
So it has been a couple of weeks now. We just got our turbos and our downpipes back from ATP, Advanced Thermal Products. They're the ones that did the header wrap for us, as well as the downpipes and the turbos now. So let's go ahead and take a look. So here everything is. The downpipes are made in a couple of pieces. You can see that here to account for the wastegate pipe. Got all of the safety wire wrap holding it all together. Turbos. An extra little heat shield here. We haven't decided for sure if we're going to use this piece. We took it off on this one to look at it and see how it fits in the car. You can see it says there, Garrett G25. So these Inconel header wraps that we got from ATP have worked really well for us in terms of heat management. Really happy to have these back on the car again, and should look really good on there.
All right, so we got all of our stuff back from ATP. It looks really good. And basically at this point, what I'm gonna do is go ahead and reassemble everything and make sure that everything fits. All of the blankets are clearing everything, and make sure that everything is in the right place. And then we'll go ahead and do the service work that this car needs. Looks like everything fits really well. I'm gonna go on to the next step, which is I'm going to design and CNC machine some little brackets to go here to basically dampen the vibrations of the turbo. And until then, we'll see you then.